Hello, and welcome back to Hoi 4, Equestria Warm, Realm of Kiria, under Rainshine. And in today's episode, we continue on towards our path to completing the Ending the Silence focus tree and seeing what happens when we complete it. Because I still have no idea. Through flame and fire, the Vermilion Banners were once the most feared and professional fighting force in Eastern Zebrica. But the silence has allowed it to decay into a shell of its former self. If we are to complete a rebuilding of our magnificent army, then we must encourage the bravery of our soldiers in the field and the innovation of our philosophers behind it. Yes, of course. Let's see. Yeah, let's do that. And over here, let's do that. And I'm gonna add trucks to our things. Yeah. That's fine. Reclaim Auburn Isle. The pirates of Nakri on Auburn Isle have long been a nuisance to the realm. Have long been a nuisance to the realm. There. Their constant raids along our coastlines have destabilized us for far too long, and their punishment is overdue. We will sail forth with our new navy and our modern army, and put an end to the pirate menace in Nakri. Troubled waters of Hayakit. Ships spotted off the port bow. Gunners, at your stations! Fickle Current looked up from his book as sailors scrambled about the steamer, spurred on by a captain's call to arms. Sitting aside, the business Kieran climbed up to the top desk, dodging a few sailors hurriedly moving up and down the stairs leading into the ship's hull, and found a spot along the port side of the ship where a marine squinted out over the waters with a frown. Ships? Kern asked him, spotting 3 outdated junks sailing towards the steamer. Are they pirates? We're close to Hyacinth, so likely, the marine responded. They aren't answering our signals. They're likely part of the Narcy Armada. Not to worry, though. The forward gun on the ship can turn them all into splinters before we get in range of their muskets and cannons. Fickle nodded, his ears splattering as the steamer's forward gun let loose a warning shot to ward off the approaching ships. The shell creating a plume of frothy white water where it landed. As he watched, the junks threw up a black flag, though one barely had a chance to raise it to the top of its mast before a kill shot from the streamer's gun crippled the wooden hull in itself. The Marines let out a cheer, yeah! Even as futile musket shot from the striving junks began to splash the water off the streamer's port side, though that abruptly stopped when a booming clang rang out, and the ship lurched to port, sending Fickle Current tumbling to the side. Submarine! Some Kieran yelled, but it was too late. The submarine had surfaced from directly underneath the steamer. From its hatches burst forth a swarm of pirates, armed to the teeth with swords and antiquated firearms. Ropes flew up over the starboard rails, and the subsequent onslaught of the pirate boarding party overwhelmed the Marines, who could only muster token resistance before they lost the deck. Fleeing from the carnage, Fickle stumbled through the steamer's narrow corridors, sighing in relief as he ran into the quarter of sailors armed with rifles and bayonets, prepared to fight on a rearguard action below decks. But hurtling out a side corridor was a mare garbed in splendid raiment, with 2 swords held aloft in her magic, falling upon the unprepared sailors with her twirling blades and cutting them down in a flurry of steel. She grinned as Current tried to slide to a stop, and before he could gallop the other way, spun one of her swords around in her magical grip, and smashed the pommel against the scales under his hoof. So, Fickle Current, is no longer gonna be giving us his effect, sadly. So yeah. That's fine, right? That's fine. Hey, Fickle Current sat in the corner of his dark cell. He's alive? That's something, right? Wondering how much time had passed since his last meal of stale bread and rice wine. He had woken in the black abyss, convinced he was dead. And it was until the heavy metal door opened for his first meal that he'd seen any light. But apart from when a slot in the door opened to give him his meals, it was barred shut. The walls of the cells were all brick, and the one time he had managed to work himself up into enough of a rage to try and tap into the nearest taboo to burn away of his cell, he couldn't find a flammable weak spot to set fire to. All he'd accomplished was burning his suit to ashes, and the experience had left him dizzy, disoriented, and sick. Another attempted was off the table. Footsteps approached, and Current looked up, turning to where he thought the door was supposed to be. Keys turned to the lock, and the door squealed on rusty hinges as it opened outward. Torchlight blinded the stallion, and he had to cover his face for a few moments to let his eyes adjust to the sudden light. When he could see again, he looked up to see a Kirin mare standing over him, and he quickly realized it was the same one who had knocked him out during the ambush. You, he croaked, recoiling slightly from her. What do you want? What happened to the crew, to the ship? His response was biting slap across the face. Yes, I did slap myself for that. My cheek kind of hurts. Hard enough to rattle his teeth. Quiet and listen, the mayor said, frowning at him. My name is Roaring Fire. The pirates of the Auburn Isle sail under my command, and the Kirin of Nakri call me their matriarch and protector. I have come to bargain. Roaring Fire gestured vaguely to the outside world. Your friends in Fragrance paid your ransom, and so I'm letting you go. A ship will take you back to Hyattson, where your navy is waiting to put its hoof to my neck and break the back of my armada. That is a fight I cannot win. But I know you're also staring down a fight you cannot win, and so I want to make a deal. She squatted down and thought her next words over carefully, the jewelry in her mane jingling faintly in the darkness of the cell. I don't just have buccaneers, I have spies. I know what you want. I know that the NAKP is training paramilitaries and preparing for the worst. And should the worst come to pass, wouldn't it be better to have more friends on your side than enemies? She dug through her robes and pulled out a white candle with a jade wick. The handle has been enchanted by dragonfire. Burn a message in it, and I will receive it. Your navy will take Auburn Isles, but they will not find my armada here. But rest assured, I will answer the call when you need it. I'm a stallion of business, and I know when a good deal is on the table. He becomes a veiled advisor, and I gain political powers. Release me and take your ransom, pirate. But you will have no help from me. Why? Because it gives me another event. I thought you guys knew this about me. I like events. It only took Current a few moments to make up his mind, and he took the candle from Roaring Fire and snapped it in two with his magic. Yeah, before crushing the wax into the ground. I'm a proud son of Fragrance, he proclaimed, sternly scowling at Roaring Fire. I'm a reputable business Kiria. Let's go. I like your attitude, and I will not stoop so low as to consorting with criminal scum to get what I need. I do not need you, and so I will not dirty myself with your help. Roaring Fire bared her teeth, and red flames began to lick at the edges of her mane. Her eyes turned piercing white, and her teeth elongated into vicious daggers as her rage started to consume her. Insolent fool, she growled, her voice taking on a demonic edge as she got closer to the nearest state. I should flay you alive, hammer nails under your scales, and peel them off. One by one, you will know the pain when I am through with you. But Current stood his ground. You would not dare hurt me, he stated. If you lay a hoof on me, your armada will be hunted to the ends of the earth. You can flee from Narkri, but my friends will make sure every single one of your ships is found and sunk, and every single one of your pirates is executed for their crimes. Face it, the age of piracy is over. You are a dying breed, a last gasp of lawless time. But I am the face of the law and order in Kiria. I am the face of progress. I am the face of the future. And the future does not need you anymore. He stood up and looked down his muzzle at the angry pirate captain before him. You gambled everything on this, didn't you? He asked her. You wanted to kidnap me, to try and convince me of my own desperation, so you could make a career change and be my mercenaries. We do not need more mercenaries. We can afford trained professionals should we need it, not an undisciplined pirate rabble. No, you will not save yourself this way. The only way you save yourself is to let me go, take your ransom, and try to start somewhere else. I know it. You know it. Now let's stop dancing around the point anymore, shall we? Even after all that, Current still harbored a little worry at seeing the half-transformed Nerik in front of him, but after a few moments the flames went out, and roaring fire returned to her current form. Fine! She spat, turning away from him. Have it your way then. Pray that you never see me again. Current became because you do not want to see what happens when you trap a pirate like a caged animal. The pirates of Auburn Isle are all caged animals, and it is our duty to put them down. Nice. You did get kicked off the council, though, from that, and you're not getting put back on it. So, too bad. I guess you're getting less support now. Because I don't have the political power to put you back on it. And even when I do, eventually, you're not the one I'm choosing. I'm choosing them. In fact, next time I go through this and I'm trying to be successful, I'm going for those two effects so that I can get her quickly. Because... oh, wait. Also... yeah, oh... These guys have I have not read these guys' events, okay, or descriptions. Not much is known about the mayor who calls herself Rising Sun, and what is known paints only a vague picture at best. By her own admission, Rising Sun was born in Chrysanthemum and studied to become a priestess in the Way of Fire. But even as a priestess, the mayor was often regarded by her peers as too smart for her own good, and twice as cunning as the most mischievous fox. She would regularly debate her senior priests about the merits and drawbacks of strictly adhering to the matriarch superior's decrees, when all they brought about was suffering and ruin for the people of Kiria, and was regularly chastised for it. For the mayor, who was too smart by half for the lifestyle she had chosen, Rising Sun had reached a frustrating theological dead end to the problems surrounding Kiria. Realizing that she would never advance as a priestess in the Way of Fire, Rising Sun sailed down the Mellifluve, where she ultimately ended up in the verdant age of 20. Once there, she quickly realized that Verdant was prospering where Criticism languished. The silence was still in full swing over the city, but the many island communities of Verdant had formed their own cooperative communes that worked together to the benefit of all without breaking any of the matriarch's decrees. Additionally, there was no rigid religious structure that dominated the everyday lives of the Kieran in the city. Only an individual commune between the average Kieran and Concord, with spiritual leaders to aid their followers along towards their own revelations. Rising Sun quickly immersed herself in those beliefs, and in no time at all had risen to the top of this new sect of the Way of Fire, naming her sect the Rising Fire. Rising Sun would... man, love yourself, huh? Rising Sun would return to Chrysanthemum to spread her new teachings to the Kirin of the West, and made many visits to towns and workshops around Kiria before ultimately ending up in Vermilion as the grand gallop onward progressed, to bring her teachings to a new level of national awareness. Except we didn't let her in. So, yeah. So tough happened. Fernflare. Since long before Autumn was the Imperial Premier, or the mayor who led Applejack and Fluttershy to the matriarch, Autumn has been Fern's close friend, which is a good way to start any conversation about Fernflare. To the public eye, her life has been intertwined with Autumn's. Born to poor farmers in Miracott, like with Autumn, Fern bonded with her as true companions. They played in the paddy fields as foals. She listened to his studying Autumn rattle off what she learned for the day from the temple, and she never failed to attend every one of Autumn's productions and comedy nights, through thick and thin. When Autumn welcomed Applejack and Fluttershy and Massacott en route to Vermilion, Fern was there to help give the nice ponies a genuine Kirin welcome. Little did she know that her acts of goodwill contributed to the end of the silence and the appointment of Autumn to her national office, which necessitated a big move to Vermilion, a move Fern has taken with her. Whether rain or shine, Autumn can have someone to lean on, as an advisor and, more importantly, as a friend. Oh, that's sweet. The capture of Auburn Isle. Ficklecurrent watched from the bow of an armored junk as the fragrant flotilla steamed into Nikra's harbor. The Marines quickly seized control of the docks and allowing the larger troops transports to dock and dislodge their troops. But he soon realized there was no fight to be had. The pirates were already long gone, just as Roaring Fire had promised, and not a shot was fired to recapture the island. The prancing Kirin banner of the Vermilion realm soon replaced the black flag hanging from the flagpole in the center of Nakra, and the Marines let out a cheer while the townsfolk sullenly watched their home fall to the invaders, their once mighty pirate armada having abandoned them. Guess even pirates know when a fight's lost, the junk's captain remarked to Current from his side. Smart move on their part. The flotilla would have broken their fleet into driftwood, even if they had submarines hiding in it. Without their base in Nakri, the Armada is going to fracture and wither. We'll have a couple more raids, I'm sure, but their glory days are done. Current silently nodded along, remembering the offer Roaring Fire made him, and how he'd spurned it. She'd been enraged and had nearly turned Nearic on him, but had enough common sense to realize when she was best beat and to cut her losses and run. He doubted he'd see the last of her, but even if he hadn't, it wouldn't be too long before some Kirin did her in. The captain was right. Without Nakri to supply our armada, Roaring Fire's days were numbered. Hers and the rest of her pirate brethren. It was another victory for the NAKP and the realm as a whole. You gained 30 army experience? No naval experience? Okay. That feels like that should be like 30 army experience, 30 naval, or 15 army, 15 naval. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather have army experience, but it still feels a little weird. Auburn Isle will no longer be a demilitarized zone. Remove Pirate Haven, which was bad on them, and the pirates of Auburn Isle will occasionally launch raids on the Kirin mainland. Well, you know, we'll get rid of them completely with time. Massacott War of the School. The training grounds of Massacott once were the pride of our army, where thousands of soldiers could be trained in the art of war. The war school has been closed for a century now, and no student have passed through its doors. To rebuild our army, we must reopen the school and begin training the next generation of soldiers. Entitled Entitlements. I've been replaced? Ficklecurrent seethed as he tossed his briefcase onto Cypress Snow's deck in outrage. I was gone for 2 weeks. 2 weeks! And my reserved seat as chief advisor to the matriarch has been filled. I demand that it be returned to me. It is my right as chair Kirin of the NAKP. Cypress flinched back and tapped his hooves together, nothing the partial elongation of Current's fangs and the smoky flickering of his mane as his rage threatened to overwhelm him. Breathe, Current, Cypress began, gently placing a hoof down on his desk. Remember our exercises. The Nearic state is unbefitting Kirin like ourselves. As Current slowly calmed himself down, Cypress continued trying to soothe his former student's hurt pride. You are still the leader of the NAKP in the morning secretariat. No Kirin is going to take that from you. Your party believes in you, and our absolute loyalty. At any rate, the appointment is not something that we can undo. Rainshine's advisors are appointed and dismissed at her leisure. Give her time, state your case, and you may find yourself back in her right hoof at no time. This should never have happened in the first place, Kirin Current fumed. My authority is built on my skills and my value. What does it say about me and the NAKP if I'm so easily replaced? I cannot hold our party together without legal authority that comes from being Rainshine's right hoof. I must have my seat back, and Kiria will move on without, or Kiria will move on without me. The matriarch is satisfied with her replacement advisor, or Fickle Current is restored to his advisor position. I mean, both lose me political power. Fine, Fickle Current is back at his advisor position. Whatever. You can have your position back. It's fine. Might as well. I mean, I didn't want to use the political power, but it was going to be 150, and instead I basically spent 50 on it, so I was going to lose 50 anyways, and it was only a 100 cost, so it's 100 off. Like, I had to just go ahead and say, whatever, go for it. Found the motor burrow. The days of marching an army from one end of the nation to the other is over. A truly modern army can move its troops to where they need to go, using motorized equipment. Fickle Current has offered to use his funds to procure Garphonian trucks, and establish a motor bureau that will aid in researching and producing trucks to allow our army to motorize. That would be nice. Doctrinal modernization. Modern wars are not fought with infantry formation, pitched battles, and sheer force of will. Modern wars are won by well-planned and coordinated actions defined by the military's doctrine that dictates how the army should act. Developing our land doctrines will be useful for modernizing our army and giving it the ability to fight effectively in the field. Yes, of course it will. Concerning. Hey, Equestria, I haven't actually looked at the world much. Okay, Equestria's doing fine. Honestly, yeah, basically almost, besides changing land expansion and the normal political changes, that's, like, so expected. And honestly, over here, seems things are pretty much the expected as well. Okay, having a pretty normal game. The Experimental Armored Corps. The modern battlefield heavily features the use of bulletproof armored vehicles, which can create an unstoppable spearhead at the front of an offensive, or deliver decisive counterattack to an enemy breakthrough. We currently lack the industry to create state-of-the-art tanks. We can invest in light armored vehicles as a stopgap until our industry capabilities expand further. I mean, not really, I just need to do it, so I'm gonna do it. I think that's more the case, to be honest, but yeah, hopefully the last point of cheating in this run. We have succeeded what many once thought impossible. Matriarch Superior Rainshine's ambitious plan has become reality, thanks to our mere Autumn Blaze's endless dedication to Grand Gallop onward, and because of the gods for repeatedly giving us loans of political power. You know, thank you so much. Thank you for that. We will, of course, be paying off those loans. We've already mostly paid off a couple. You know, we're doing all right, but we needed one more. So thank you so much, Lord, for giving us a loan of 200 political power. Because of their efforts, the 11th century will be truly wonderful century for the realm of Kiria. And of course, the gods' loans come back instantly. Instant loan offers. Thank you, Concord, for your loans that we have completely been needing. Thank you so much. When the news reached Mascot that the Premier Autumn Blaze was scheduled to give a speech on the radio that evening, word quickly spread to the small community of farmers on the city's borders. That the Imperial Premier called her home. But the farmers were poor, even if the modernization of the Grand Gallop Onward had already begun improving their lives, and many, her parents especially, feared that they would not be able to hear it. But thanks to a friend of a friend, Autumn parents managed to find a radio, and the entire community gathered around the device as it strained to pick up Autumn's voice from Vermilion, many kilometers away. Citizens of Kiria, Autumn proclaimed over the radio as soon as the broadcast began. Today is a great day, a momentous day, the 3.5-year plan, the first phase of the Grand Gallop Onward. This has been a resounding success. When I first began working with her divinity, Matriarch Superior Rainshine, as our Imperial Premier, I was admittedly intimidated by the sheer scale of the undertaking before us as a nation. But our success should not have been surprising. It took a group effort to make this work. Matriarch Rainshine, who believed in the Grand Gallop Onward, the All-Kieran Plenum for national revival, which put aside their differences to come together and create a new modern future for the realm. Our friends overseas, who lent us money and their expertise to catch up on a century of missed innovations. And most importantly, Concord, who repeatedly gave us political power to allow us to complete the devastating events that were occurring. Oh, and also you, the average Kieran, the backbone and soul of our nation, who responded to our rallying cries of modernization and helped in any and every little way you could. We could not be here tonight without you, and Concord, I am sure, is smiling upon our favored species. We have accomplished would make her proud, and her favor will bless Kiria for generations. Today is a day to rejoice. Kieran of the realm, be together with your friends and family. Invite your neighbors over to drink and feast. Celebrate. And don't worry about getting a little carried away with your celebrations. As the matriarch has declared that tomorrow shall be a national holiday and celebration. So to you, Kieran of Kiria, good luck. And may Concord bless you. Music signaled the end of the broadcast, but the farmers of Mascot had only just begun to cheer and stomp their hooves. In the center of it all, Autumn's mother cried tears of joy and pride, held close against her husband's chest. It would be a lively night in Mascot, and all throughout the realm as a whole. We did it! We did it! Concord bless us all! Unlock the Radiant Prosperity Focus Tree. We have cast off the last vestiges of the silence, enabling editing of the Seafarer Banner Division template, and the training or disbanding of units belonging to it. Oh. I like how we can't do that. That's always a good sign. But, for now, because unlike Thought, who says, oh, you have to complete that, this is like, oh, I can't do that. Why? It doesn't say. Oh, that's scary. But hey, we've made it through so far. We've completed what we've been working so hard to do. We've done it. We truly have. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And, as always, peace.